In May 2019, Kenny Rogers was dying in a Georgia hospital. His family thought it was the end. Then Dolly Parton showed up with a secret plan. She smuggled in recording equipment and convinced Kenny to sing one last time. What happened next shocked everyone in that room. Kenny's voice cracked as he sang words that felt like a goodbye letter. The hospital tried to stop them, but Dolly wouldn't quit. That recording became the most heartbreaking song you'll never hear on the radio. Kenny Rogers was born on August 21, 1938 in a small hospital in Houston, Texas. His full name was Kenneth Donald Rogers, and he was the fourth of 8 kids. His family lived in a cramped 2-room unit inside a government housing project called San Felipe Courts. Money was always short. Some nights dinner was just peanut butter on bread. In the 1940s, his father's best paycheck was $75 a week, and that barely covered rent and food. But Kenny didn't sit still. He cleaned floors in a hat store for $9 a week. He carried plates at the Rice Hotel. That's how he saved $60 to buy a guitar from Sears. Growing up poor made him hungry for more. And by the time he was 17, he became the first person in his family to finish high school. Years later, he remembered that moment on national TV. In high school, he and a few friends formed a band and gave themselves a bold name, the Scholars. It was funny because none of them got great grades, but they had something else: rhythm, charm, and drive. They played local dances and veterans halls, mixing doo-wop with a little Elvis flair. They even recorded a song called Poor Little Doggy and sold 3,000 copies just around Houston. The song caught the ears of a local TV show, and soon he was performing on Jive Town. In the fall of 1957, Kenny went into a recording studio in Houston and made a song called That Crazy Feeling. He was just 19. The small label that printed it didn't expect much, but the record took off. 30,000 copies sold in Texas in just over 2 months. It reached number 3 on local charts. That success got national attention, and before long, Dick Clark invited him to perform on American Bandstand. On February 15, 1958, America saw Kenny Rogers for the first time on national television, dressed in a powder blue jacket, singing his heart out. The song never climbed higher than 51 on the national chart. But it didn't matter. The camera loved him. But before the fame, before the country ballads and movies, there was a kid in love. On May 15, 1958, just 3 months after That Crazy Feeling came out, 19-year-old Kenny married Janice Gordon in a quiet Houston courthouse. She was 18 and already 3 months pregnant. Kenny didn't have much. He borrowed $75 for the license and wore his only suit to the ceremony before heading to his shift at the carpet warehouse. By September 15th, their daughter Carol Lynn was born. Kenny's entire net worth back then was a pond trumpet and a beat-up Oldsmobile he said was worth more than the wedding. But he was determined. He mapped club gigs on scraps of paper and squeezed in $15 performances between diaper changes and factory shifts. It was messy and exhausting, but it showed how hard he was willing to fight for both his family and his dream. Not everyone believed in him. Janice's parents thought he was dragging their daughter down. In his 2012 memoir, Kenny said they were convinced he'd ruined her life. Her mother circled job ads at breakfast and gave them to Kenny while he scribbled guitar notes. That Christmas in 1958, they gave the couple only one gift, a framed photo of Kenny's band. But her parents wouldn't even hang it on the wall. They said if he couldn't promise a steady paycheck within a year, he should let Janice come home. Kenny tried to smile through it, but each family dinner felt like an interview he couldn't pass. It wore him down, and it wore down the marriage. By October 1959, everything came crashing down. Their daughter was 6 months old. One night during a fight, Kenny stepped out to cool off. When he came back, Janice and her mother were gone. Every blanket, every toy packed and taken. They filed for divorce. And by April 1960, it was over. Just 686 days after their wedding, the marriage ended. Kenny was already touring with the Bobby Doyle Trio by then, playing 6 nights a week, earning $55 a gig and spending most of it on motel rooms. Years later, he told Fox News, "Music became my mistress." And the mistress won. In 1961, Janice remarried. Her new husband had a regular job in a stable home in Dallas. Kenny didn't. He was still chasing stages and living on the road. So he made a difficult choice. He agreed in writing to step back to only see his daughter once a week for 2 hours. "I would be her father," he said, "but he would be her dad." He tried to make it work, but by the end of the year, his schedule had already made him miss 42 of the 52 visits. He stepped away completely. It broke his heart, but he thought it was the only fair thing to do. By 1980, Kenny Rogers was selling out arenas across the world. People sang along to The Gambler and Lady, but there was one note that never left him. He hadn't seen his daughter in 15 years. He tried to fix it. He flew her and Janice to Hawaii hoping for a reunion, but the week ended in silence and awkward stares. It didn't work. In 2012, he spoke the truth out loud. "I chose career over my first child, and that's a debt I can't repay." 3 years later, on his final tour, he stood in front of 12,000 people in Atlanta and stopped mid-song. He said, success had taken things money couldn't replace. Things like teaching his daughter to ride a bike. And in that moment, everyone understood what he really meant when he sang about gamblers and chances. However, Kenny